La Poche Bleue, une présentation des concessionnaires Ford du Québec.
Vous entrez maintenant dans La Poche Bleue, le podcast des deux chums Guillaume la Tendresse et Maxime Lapierre. La formation de départ, the starting line-up. Le numéro 40, number 40, Maxime Lapierre. Le numéro 84, number 84, Guillaume la Tendresse.
Yes, sir! Bienvenue à Poche Bleue. Salut, Maxime.
Salut, Guillaume.
Allô, ça va bien?
Ça va bien, bonjour, ça va bien, vous?
Yes, ça va bien, ça va bien.
Ouais.
Encore une fois, beau podcast.
Là, tu vas-tu parler comme le père, comme Stan, tout le show, ou on peut parler normal?
Ouais, toi, comme les résidents soleil, ou tu vas mettre un peu d'énergie? Bam! Boum!
Bonjour tout le monde! Salut mon homme! Salut mon homme!
Bienvenue dans nos studios Ford, puis on voulait vous dire que vous avez vu dans les dernières semaines, moi, qu'on travaillait sur des nouvelles chaînes YouTube, puis séparer un peu les choses. C'est pour ça que sur la chaîne de la Poche Bleue en tant que telle, vous voyez moins des autres shows. On a séparé tout ça.
Wow!
Si vous voulez suivre les autres, je pense qu'on est parti sortir golfer, trace de break. Donc, il y en a plusieurs de nos sous-podcasts sur la Poche Bleue qui sont rendus avec leur propre chaîne YouTube. Mais si vous allez sur la Poche Bleue, vous pouvez voir dans le bas.
On est plus sous les podcasts, mais on est des sous-podcasts à cette heure.
C'est ça. Fait que, vous pouvez aller voir sur YouTube. Tout est là. Toutes les informations sont là. Et un partenaire majeur qui revient encore une fois. Puis on va y aller tantôt dans la zone Molson. On remercie la gang de Molson d'embarquer encore une fois avec nous, les niaiseux de la Poche Bleue. Toujours le fun d'être encore une fois appuyé par la gang de Molson.
Ben oui.
L'air content.
Je garde ça pour la zone Molson. La bière est trop froide.
Ah, OK. Ça va être émotif. Ça va être bon. J'ai hâte d'écouter ça.
C'est cool.
Sinon, on en a parlé la semaine passée. Le début, vendredi, c'est ce vendredi 4 octobre. Début du bataillon.
J'ai hâte. Honnêtement, j'ai hâte en crime. C'est stressant un peu.
Pas mal, oui.
Non, mais c'est la première fois que je suis dans cette position-là, que je suis pas sur la glace, puis je me dis que ça prend une belle entrée pareil. Là. Tu veux un bon match, puis t'as pas de contrôle vraiment quand tu y penses. Là.
Non, non, c'est pas vrai que t'as pas le contrôle, parce que j'ai encore une fois un chandail 40 avec un... J'ai fait faire le nom. Fait que si tu veux avoir le contrôle, tu peux l'avoir.
J'ai vu ma game dans le matin, puis j'irai pas. Je vais te le dire. Asti que
Ouh.
j'étais mauvais à matin. Ça n'a pas d'allure. C'est la première fois de ma vie. Il n'y avait rien qui marchait. Pas de vitesse, pas de main, pas de vision, pas d'énergie, pas de passion, pas de fun, pas de line mate, pas de line mate, pas de line mate, pas de line mate. On était mauvais à matin. Hey,
je peux comprendre comment elle pèse ça.
Ton tir du revers, là, en échappé.
C'est dégueulasse.
Ouais, mauvais en crime.
Ou quand j'ai entendu bang! C'était tombé en pleine face dans le ventre. Mais non, c'était pas très chic. Ouais. Tout ça pour dire que les billets à l'unité sont disponibles. Les billets de groupe, si vous voulez, écrivez-nous. Puis ça part vite. Ça part vite. On est mercredi. Puis beaucoup de monde qui ont acheté leurs billets. Je pense que ça va être une belle ambiance, bien du fun. Fait qu'on a hâte de vous voir vendredi. Vous pouvez scanner le petit code QR si ça vous tente de participer à ça.
Scannez ça. Ils vont l'ambiance, hein?
Moment historique. Premier match du bataillon.
Ouais.
Moment historique. Fait que manquez pas ça. Sinon, hier, encore une fois, si les matchs Canadiens, sénateurs ressemblent à ça, je pense qu'on se plaindra pas de la saison.
Là, je vois plein de commentaires, puis je suis trop de violence, trop de coups à la tête, trop de ça. On est déconcentrés, on n'a pas eu le temps de pratiquer nos joueurs parce qu'on a embarqué dans la game à Toronto, à Ottawa. OK, là, on va séparer la salade de fruits un peu. Là. On va séparer tout ça. Les coups à la tête, puis tout, oui, c'est inacceptable. Les mises en échec tardives, c'est inacceptable. Surtout, là, tu sais que les gars se préparent pour la saison. Il y a des joueurs étoiles, il faut faire attention, puis tout ça, mais là, il faut séparer ça, OK? Les gars qui sont sur la glace, là, ils ont d'affaires là. Même s'ils ne joueront pas dans la Ligue nationale de hockey, ils sont en test, ils essaient de se construire une carrière. Il y a toujours eu des matchs hors concours, puis il n'y a pas d'affaire. Moi, j'ai été ce joueur-là, sa quatrième ligne. Il n'y a pas d'affaire de laisser passer un joueur parce que c'est une vedette. C'est quoi? Moi, je nourrirai pas ma famille, puis j'essaierai pas de jouer le plus fort que je peux parce que toi, tu fais 10 millions par année puis tu es une star. Ça, je suis pas d'accord avec ça.
Non,
par contre, il faut faire attention. Il y a un respect, que ce soit les coups aux genoux, les coups à la tête. Il faut quand même respecter l'autre joueur puis dire, OK, c'est un match hors concours, je vais faire attention. OK? Ça c'est le côté violence. On n'a pas besoin à ce temps-ci de l'année. On n'a pas besoin pendant tout, mais l'autre affaire, c'est le Canadien. Finalement, oublions les coups, là. Finalement, on a un groupe qui se tient. Finalement, on a une équipe que les équipes n'arrivent pas au Centre Bell, puis c'est comme c'est le Canadien, on va y frapper, on va y brasser, on fait ce qu'on veut. Il était temps. Il était temps qu'il y ait une équipe qui se tienne. Il était temps que les gars soient frustrés quand ils reçoivent un coup, quand leur coéquipier se fait blesser. Il était temps qu'il y ait une réaction. On l'a demandé, ça fait des années. Finalement, on a des gars avec une personnalité, des gars avec du caractère. Des Xhekaj, les Struble, la façon qu'il a réagi avec sa mise en échec. Dach qui jette ses gants. Les gars se tiennent. C'est quoi qu'on veut? On va encore la gang qui était comme, OK, hey, le gars, il est dans le coin, il bouge plus, mais c'est pas grave. C'est pas
Mais il faut juste pas non plus que ça devienne. Comme hier, je trouve, Pizzetta, il a embarqué le chiffre d'après. Tu allé voir Greg, il a donné un petit coup de hockey. Il a pogné 2 minutes. Faut juste pas, par exemple, que ça devienne Xhekaj va le faire. Il faut vraiment que, comme quand ça arrive sur la glace, on le fait, puis that's it. Là, puis ça fait partie du hockey. Puis à partir du moment qu'il y a des combats, il y en a. Puis quand tu fais une mise en échec qui est douteuse, comme la mise en échec, on va en parler dans Zone Molsenex tantôt. On a une question là-dessus sur Xhekaj. Tu mérites d'avoir... Oui, la Ligue doit punir. Oui, la Ligue doit prendre sa place. Puis oui, les joueurs, sa patinoire, bien, ça fait partie du respect. Ça fait partie de la game. Fait, de ce côté-là, j'ai pas aimé la mise en échec. Je trouve que c'était dangereux. Il faut enlever ça. On peut pas commencer la saison, Jack Hughes out, liné. Tu perds des joueurs vedettes pour longtemps, pour des jeux. Mais oui, je suis d'accord. Si tu n'as pas de match pré-saison et tu n'as pas d'opportunité, j'aurais pas eu la chance de faire le camp à 18 ans, puis j'aurais pas eu la chance de faire l'équipe à 19. Puis je me souviens, on avait eu un camp l'année d'après, j'avais fait ma place, Garth Murray voulait ma place, il m'avait gelé en plein centre, même si j'étais... Ben c'est ça la game, lève-toi la tête, puis ça fait partie de ton rôle, puis tout le monde veut gagner sa place. Mais la perte de Laine offre quand même des opportunités à certains joueurs. Hier, tu as parlé de Struble en défensive, je l'ai adoré, mais... Puis là, le monde va dire encore, OK, je trouve vraiment que Barré-Boulet amène une petite dimension intéressante. Je trouve qu'on pourrait peut-être y donner un look, une opportunité, peut-être pas sur ce trio-là, mais ça l'ouvre quand même un poste d'un 12 pour un gars comme lui.
C'est un jeune de se réveiller. Tu ne peux pas se réveiller parce qu'il joue mal, mais c'est ton opportunité. L'aîné n'est pas là. Ça prend un gars qui joue sur le deuxième trio. Mais trouve-là ta place à un moment donné, que ce soit Joshua Roy, que ce soit n'importe quel jeune. Heinemann patine bien. C'est qui l'autre? Excuse, j'ai un blanc de mémoire. Là, le petit 91, il joue super bien. Finlandais, voyons. Il y a tout un camp, là.
Kapanen.
Le gars joue bien. Le gars, il est écœurant. Prends-la ta chance. Puis quand tu l'as, ta chance, par exemple, dors pas au gaz.
Ouais.
Parce que l'année passée, là, Ulonen, il a eu sa chance. Puis il a dormi au gaz. Ouais. Quand tu l'as, mets le puck dedans, va au filet, trouve une façon de te faire remarquer. Puis c'est pas la fin du monde si l'année est parti, là. Avant qu'il signe, là, on trouvait qu'on s'était amélioré comme club juste avec le retour de Dach, l'éclosion de Slavkovski. Les gars sont plus vieux, les gars sont supposés d'améliorer défensivement dans le territoire défensif, l'avantage numérique. L'année, c'est pas la fin du monde. Là. Puis au contraire, ça fait de la place à la masse salariale. Il est parti pour un bout, tu peux aller chercher un gars qui va aider, puis quand tout le monde va revenir, tu vas être capable d'avoir de quoi d'encore meilleur.
C'est pas la fin du monde. Mais je pense que le hype était tellement gros dans le sens de il peut-tu redevenir le line-up puis on l'a eu gratuitement. Je pense plus que c'est ça qui fait mal dans le hype qu'on avait de dire hey, on a un gars qui a fait 35-40 buts dans la Ligue nationale, qui s'en vient chez nous, qui n'a rien coûté, qui coûte 8,7 par année. Oui, c'est beaucoup d'argent, mais il peut-tu redevenir ce gars-là? Je pense que c'était ça le trip que le monde tripait.
Ça aurait surtout aidé l'avantage numérique parce que ça, je vais en parler. Puis j'ai été. On s'entend que j'ai souvent parlé de Burroughs, que c'était pas. Je l'ai dit, puis je vais continuer de maintenir la ligne. Puis c'est pas l'entraîneur qui aime pas que ça glace. C'était bien beau avoir Martin Saint-Louis ou Burroughs, puis c'est bien beau de changer. Puis des fois, ça fait du bien de changer de stratégie. Ils sont quoi t'as-tu vu? Je pense qu'il était 0 en 20 à un moment donné. Là. Voyons donc, on dirait que c'est même peu un privilège de jouer sur l'avantage numérique. C'est juste les gars, je joue pour le Canadien. Je suis en avantage numérique. J'ai pas besoin de travailler plus fort, j'ai pas besoin de faire mes affaires. Hey, l'exécution, ça fait partie de la concentration. Je m'excuse, là, c'est pas juste que la glace est pas belle. Là. À un moment donné,
au centre belle, tout le temps belle.
C'est ça. Fais ta passe sur le tape, fais ton lancer sur le net, puis travaille quand il y a un rebond dans le coin, là, récupère la rondelle à un moment donné. Là, on est là. Ouais. Puis lâchez-moi aussi avec le petit breakout de drop pass. Le monde qui chiale, toutes les équipes font ça. J'ai déjà planifié ça, je vais toutes les sortir cette année à TVA Sport. Ouais, toutes les équipes font le drop pass.
Il y a peut-être qu'on est prêt à le faire. Il y a peut-être que le monde sur la glace se place pas bien et ils le font pas comme du monde. Parce que oui, mais moi, ce que je trouve là, qui va être difficile, j'ai hâte de voir la gestion de Martin Saint-Louis. Parce qu'au final, là, coach en chef, tu sais comment c'est, là. Hey, je veux te parler de mon temps de glace. Tu as une rencontre individuelle avec Lapierre. Tu as une rencontre individuelle avec Caulfield. Tu as une rencontre avec Suzuki. Tu as une rencontre. Tu sais, tu as peut-être 4-5 rencontres individuelles dans la semaine, ici et là, qui sont placées. Tu as les rencontres sur la glace, mais entre des games, quand tu joues aux 2 jours, là, ça prend du temps à tabarouette, réécouter toutes les powerplays, toutes les découper, faire une stratégie. Comme entraîneur-chef, je trouve qu'il se met une grosse charge de dire c'est moi qui vais être en charge. J'espère qu'on a engagé le nouveau gars, que lui va être là pour l'appuyer là-dessus au niveau des vidéos et autres. Mais je trouve que Martin Saint-Louis se met toute la charge de travail de l'entraîneur-chef, de l'entraîneur vidéo. J'ai hâte de voir à Noël comment il va ressembler au niveau de la fatigue, parce que c'est pas facile. Mais oui, il faut trouver des solutions, puis ça revient à un système de jeu. Si tu as une équipe pas rapide, essaie de trouver une façon d'améliorer ça. En ce moment, le drop pass, ça fait 3 ans, 2 ans que ça marche plus ou moins. Peut-être qu'il faut amener une nouvelle façon de faire, même si les Bruins de Boston, ça marche, mais eux autres, c'est Marchand, c'est Pasternak, c'est McAvoy. Ils ont un staff différent. C'est peut-être de trouver une autre solution, mais peu importe qui on va mettre, si les joueurs ne performent pas au final, Martin Saint-Louis, il n'y a pas rapport là-dedans.
Mais il y a une raison pourquoi le drop pass a été inventé, puis il y a une raison pourquoi tout le monde le fait. Puis le monde voit juste la sortie de zone, mais ça a rapport avec le positionnement. Ça a rapport avec les 2 gars qui patinent dans le milieu avec la rondelle, sont capables de poursuivre leur route jusqu'à dans le fond du territoire puis se soutenir. Ouais. Si tout le monde est arrêté, là, tu patines tout seul, tu vas mourir dans le coin. Si tu n'es pas capable de créer de vitesse, tu ne récupéreras pas la rondelle. Il y a une raison pourquoi ça a été créé, ça. Ouais. Puis c'est ça, je te dis, à un moment donné, il faut que tu l'exécutes.
C'est ça. Si l'exécution n'est pas là, tu reviens au même qui est arrêté à bleu.
Regarde, comptez là, toutes les passes qui sont pas sur le tape, toutes les passes pour un one-timer qui sont pas sur le bon patin puis que le gars est obligé de l'arrêter. Il y en a beaucoup. Là. Ouais. Comptez le nombre de fois qu'il y a un shot de la pointe, qu'il n'y a pas personne devant le net. Commencez par les petits détails, puis après ça, on réglera les gros détails.
Non, je suis d'accord. C'est notre analyse un peu du match d'hier, puis j'ai hâte de voir la suite des choses. Le Canadien qui va affronter, je pense, les Sénateurs encore une fois. Puis la saison commence le 9 octobre.
Moi, j'habillerai pas aucun bon joueur parce que c'est rendu ridicule les blessés.
Ouais, on a bien hâte. Puis on va vous parler dans la zone Molson de la situation de Xhekaj et autres. Puis il y a eu un gros événement ce week-end. On veut féliciter notre employé depuis le jour 1. Vicky Bouchard qui s'est mariée avec son beau Antoine. Ça a l'air que ça a été
bravo,
toute qu'une cérémonie. Ça a été,
c'est des belles photos, ça.
Ouais, ça a été bien le fun. LP était là, Simon, Julia, je pense qu'il était là. Nous, on avait un match avec le bataillon, mais ça a l'air que ça a été un événement exceptionnel. Félicitations à Vicky, Antoine, toute la famille. J'espère que vous avez pu en profiter. Puis, merci d'être avec nous autres à Poche Bleue. Hein?
Ouais,
on est bien contents de t'avoir.
Beau couple.
Hey, nouveau segment, la gang, présenté par Airbnb. Le Canadien sur la route. Puis cette semaine, le Canadien affronte les Sénateurs d'Ottawa. On essaie de se remémorer des petits souvenirs, justement, de nos passages à Ottawa ou de choses qu'on a fait. Ah oui, tu as fait un méchant goal en shootout, toi.
Ottawa,
on venait du voyage en Floride. Carbo, t'avais embarqué, on était comme... Carbo, tu veux perdre?
Je sais pas pourquoi les gars avaient tout l'air surpris. C'était comme le but était-tu si beau que ça ou tout le monde était comme « Wow, il a scoré! »
Lapi. Non, lui, c'est Gio. L'autre à côté.
C'est beaucoup de pression.
Bon,
hein. Quand t'es un gars de 4e trio, tu reçois à la table, t'es comme « Ah boy, tous les gars en avant qui font 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 millions, t'es comme « J'ai-tu l'air épais? Je comprends pas. »
Moi, Ottawa, c'est un des plus beaux souvenirs de hockey. Pour les gens qui ne savent pas, mon frère a fait le camp du Canadien de Montréal avec moi. Puis je me rappelle, on prenait l'autobus dans ce temps-là. On était parti du Centre Bell en boss pour s'en aller jouer contre les Sénateurs d'Ottawa en match pré-saison. Mais là, mon frère, tu sais, t'arrives dans l'autobus, puis là, il restait plus de place. Puis là, il descend dans le boss. Puis là, la seule place, genre, qui restait pas loin, c'était à côté de Kovalev. Là, mon frère, il est comme... Guy, tu peux-tu juste me trouver un spot? Il
était mal à l'aise.
Je suis pas sûr que je m'assire à côté de Covey. Finalement, il était assis à côté, mais...
Covey est correct en plus.
Ouais, c'est ça. Puis je remercie Carbo, parce que tu fais les line-up, comme là en ce moment, il y a des frères qui auraient pu jouer dans les mêmes matchs, pas tout le temps possible. Moi, j'ai eu la chance de le faire contre Ottawa. Fait que c'était quand on a parlé du segment Airbnb, c'est sûr que c'est ça qui m'est venu en tête. Fait que ça a été un beau souvenir pour moi.
C'est sûr et certain. Puis d'arriver là-bas, en plus, tu arrives à Ottawa. Vous autres, qu'est-ce que tu faisiez? Mettons, tes parents allaient voir la game. Avez-vous la chance de souper ensemble toute la gang avec la game? Ou?
Ottawa, c'est plus difficile, mais des fois, quand tu avais des back-to-back ou tu avais, quand on jouait avec le Wild, on s'en venait à Ottawa, là, tu avais la chance. Puis là, oui, tu avais le temps de le faire. Puis là, ils pouvaient rester une couple de jours. On jouait souvent à Ottawa, on allait à Toronto. Puis c'est là, des fois, que les familles viennent. Oui, tu as l'opportunité d'aller en hôtel, mais c'était un gros groupe qui vient de voir la game. Mais c'est là que des opportunités comme Airbnb étaient bonnes pour nos familles. Puis je suis certain que mes parents l'ont fait une couple de fois. Puis ça m'emmène justement, on a vu l'annonce que peut-être les Sénateurs allaient acheter ces plaines de Breton. Je peux te dire qu'il y a une couple de propriétaires dans ce secteur-là. S'ils veulent mettre leur maison sur Airbnb, je pense qu'il va y avoir de la boisson qui va se boire là, puis ils vont avoir besoin de dormir sur place. Puis je pense que ça va être une belle alternative dans ce coin-là du côté d'Ottawa.
100%. Puis de l'autre côté aussi, mettons, quand moi j'étais joueur, je peux pas croire que des fois, tu avais les grands-parents, les parents, frères et sœurs, puis là, on dirait que tu as joué un bon match, puis ça finit comme, bon, tout le monde s'en va dans leur chambre.
Ouais.
On dirait que si tu loué un Airbnb ensemble, tu es assis, tu es dans la cuisine, tu prends un verre de vin, tu manges après le match, tout le monde rit. On dirait que tout le monde est inclus dans le succès. Je trouve des fois ça coupait vite, mettons, le party.
C'est nos petits souvenirs de voyage à Ottawa avec la gang de Airbnb. Puis n'oubliez pas de regarder, à cette heure, il y a le petit cœur. Le petit coup de cœur, ça, c'est les maisons avec les meilleurs ratings à travers. Fait que tu peux pas te tromper avec ça. Merci Airbnb de faire partie de l'aventure de la Poche Bleue. L'entrevue avec P.K Subban vous est présentée par le Ford F-150 2024. En location à partir de 1,99 % sur les F-150 sélectionnés jusqu'au 9 octobre. Puis, l'entrevue a été faite avec P.K Subban il y a une dizaine de jours, donc avant la blessure de Patrick Laine. On a parlé de l'arrivée de Patrick Laine avec P.K, donc c'est important pour nous de vous dire que cette entrevue-là a été faite il y a peut-être 10 jours, 2 semaines.
Oui, puis on est gâtés aussi. Nos amis de Versacom, ils ont tous sous-titré la patente. Ça fait du bien. C'est dur à faire. On a travaillé fort. La première fois qu'on avait fait ça, Simon, je pense qu'il y avait mot par mot pendant 100 heures. Versacom sont venus nous aider, puis traduction parfaite.
On écoute ça.
And today we're pretty lucky. We are with P.K Subban, live with P.K Subban, looking good with the Montreal Expos little jacket or T-shirt.
Tom Brady.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm doing well. I'm happy to do the show finally, man, to come on and do this with you guys.
You're great. I've seen PK in a restaurant in Montreal a few weeks ago, and it took 5 minutes. He said, I want to be on your show. I've seen Pricer on the social media.
Yes.
Loved it. Said, I want to be there. And man of his word, he's here today. He's here to have fun, and we're honored, PK. Honestly, it's been a while.
Very much.
Same for Guillaume.
Yeah. How do you spend your summer now? We're going back to work. The hockey is coming back. What do you do during the summer?
Man, I've been spending a lot more time in Montreal. I'll tell you this, like when I left Montreal, I felt like it was a second home. Obviously Toronto's my home. That's where I was born and raised. My family's there. But, this off season and even last off season in the summertime, I start spending more and more time back in Montreal. I mean, the Slappy, you guys grew up, in the city of Montreal and around it. But for me, I started going to Montreal when I was 18. So all my friends, all the people that I know there, I've known for almost 20 years. Some of these people are some of my closest friends. So I've been back in Montreal a lot, but most of the time I'm triangulating through Toronto, New York, Montreal. I got to be in New York for work. So I spent a lot of time here, especially more time here during the year. But Toronto, Montreal, usually for me, seeing my family and friends there. Yeah.
So right now you're in New York. It's probably because of work, right?
Yeah, work starts. And, for work, I have to go up to Connecticut. So ESPN's head studio, their whole campus is in Bristol. So it's about 2.5 hours from Manhattan to get there. So on a game day, on Saturdays when we do our ABC games, I usually get up in the morning, work out, and then I drive there, do the game, and then drive back. So I do that every time I work.
It's a few hours, right?
Oh, yeah. It's about 5 hours a day, I spend in a car. So,
wow.
It's a lot of time, but, I love it. I love doing it. It keeps me connected to the game. My loyalties are now to the fan and to the people at home that are watching, so I enjoy it. But, yeah, I spend a lot of time in New York.
It's going to be my only question about Montreal Canadiens. What do you think about the line coming in?
I love it. I really like it. I think that Kent Hughes, Marty St. Louis, the whole organization has done a great job in being patient and putting some structure around the teams.
Yeah.
You know this, Slappy, that in Montreal and Toronto sometimes it can feel like it's a gong show. There's just a million different things going on and you don't know what the direction of the team is. I don't think that's the case in Montreal. I really believe that this is the most organized. I think that the team has looked both on paper and also just through their development process, how they've drafted, the patience that they've shown, and then also the control in the media. You know this, Lappy. In Montreal and Toronto, the media can stunt a team's development with players. If there's too much pressure on the players, if they're not protected by the organization. So I think that Marty and Kent and the whole brass there, everybody has done a great job in protecting those players and building sort of a shield around them to develop and feel comfortable to do that. And I think that's why you're going to see other free agents that are going to want to play there. And it starts with a guy like Patrick Laine. This guy could be a 50-goal scorer easily. In a great season, he's scoring 50. So whenever you can, there's no risk here. You're bringing in a player that's got something to prove, who's coming out of a situation where, he's had some injury issues, but this is a guy, like, I didn't like the whole thing in Winnipeg when they're giving it to him about his video games. Like, I don't care. Everybody's got their own thing. No, I don't mind if you make fun of him a little bit and rib him a little bit, but let the guy do whatever he needs to do. If he's scoring goals, let him put the puck in the net and leave him alone. And I think it's important that, for a guy like Patrick Laine, there's some players, he's done really, really well in Canada. Played in Winnipeg. He knows what it's like to play in Canada, dealing with the media. I think him coming to Montreal is going to light that fire again for him. And I think when it's all said and done, everything that's happened before him is going to be the past. And I think his best days could be ahead of him. That's up to him. But I think he's in the right situation with a coach like Marty and the direction of which this team is going, from the goaltender to Lane Hudson on defense, who's coming, who's going to be a stud, with Suzuki and Caulfield and Slavkovsky and, Davidov and all these guys that are coming in. Yeah. I like the mix and the timing of it. So I think he's coming in at a great situation, and he's going to have a huge impact on that team. Big impact.
100%. And you were talking about protecting the players in a market like Montreal, Toronto. Let's go back in time. Like you were a star coming in with a different vibe, obviously, something that finally now people are realizing that PK's way was the right way to do social media and to be closer to the fans. But let's talk about protecting the players. When you came in, did you expect this circus to be that big? Like, did you know it was going to be that phenomenal in Montreal? And did you feel protected? Because Guillaume and I had that talk last year. We didn't feel protected at a young age, because it's easy to say they take care of the kids, but I think the task was a little bigger than people were expecting.
Well, I remember when Sidney Crosby came into the league, they had him living with Mario Lemieux. Yeah. Every organization has different levels of protection. Yeah. And it's also up to the player too. I'm not just putting that solely on the organization. Players have to ask questions if they need something, but the organization has the most knowledge and understanding of what it is to put that jersey on and the things that you're going to have to deal with. I think that in Montreal, it's difficult. It's difficult to say whether I felt protected or not. When I go back to when I was drafted, it was a big deal for me and my family because my dad was a massive Habs fan. Like, when he moved from Jamaica to Sudbury, the kids are playing in the street with Canadian jerseys on. He's never even seen snow before. He doesn't know what hockey is. So, for him to see me get drafted to the team, I grew up in Toronto. So I became a Habs fan because of my dad, not because I grew up in Montreal. So when I went there, I didn't know much about Montreal. I had no idea that Montreal was a European type of city. I had no idea that the nightlife was as great and the hospitality was as great as it was. I'm going to Montreal as an 18-year-old kid. Most 18-year-old kids that are drafted probably want to go to a club or something like that because of the agent. I thought that the best place was Crescent Street, where all those bars were. I had no idea anything about Montreal. So for me going in, there were a lot of things, and that was a great question, Lappy, because I think people don't understand that there were a lot of things that were new for me that I had no idea. Like, I knew Montreal was, people loved hockey there, but I loved watching Don Cherry on Saturday nights. I didn't sit around as a kid and watch the hockey game per se. I was playing mini sticks while the game was going on. And then when Don Cherry went on TV, I had to be there sitting with my dad, because I wanted to hear what he was going to say about someone today. I wanted to hear what Russian player's name he was going to mess up today and say completely different. I got a kick out of that. So getting to Montreal, take the hockey part and put it aside. I'm just excited to play in the National Hockey League. Like, I'm getting a chance to play in the league for a team that when my dad moved to Canada, it was one of the first things he learned to love. So for me, every time I put that jersey on, Nobody would understand it because I'm not French. I'm not from Montreal. Like, you know, I'm a black hockey player on top of it. Like, what's your connection to the Canadiens? Well, that was my connection to the Montreal Canadiens. So for me to go out there and leave it all on the ice every night, I mean, I dreamt about doing that. You know, forget winning the Stanley Cup, just to have my dad watch me go on the ice and my mom watch me go on the ice and play and put that jersey on. That was my biggest thing. So when it came to all of the outside stuff, I never allowed that stuff to get into my head or to change my perception because I knew why I was there. I enjoyed myself and had fun. But Lappy, at 3 a.m. in the morning when I was finished at the club or bar, I went home. You know what I mean? So, like, for me, like, I was brought up a certain way and raised the same way. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself, but I didn't need protection maybe that some other players needed. I didn't feel that way. I remember multiple times, guys, at Christmas time, Matthew Darsh asking me to come over to his house and enjoy Christmas when I didn't go home because I was scared to get snowed into Toronto. And I remember saying to him at 21, no, it's okay. I'll go to the hospital and give gifts to the kids. That's my way of enjoying. I don't want to impede on somebody else's Christmas.
But
so
you always look like you were confident, like day one, you know, even when you were 18 years old. But was there a time where you were going home and you felt like the pressure and you had enough? Because we all went through it, but I feel like it's like you look invincible a little bit in your demeanor, like the way you act. But was there a time?
Great question. 100%. I'll start when I was 15 and I moved away from home. The start to my junior career wasn't easy. It was very, very difficult. That was really the first goal that I really ever accomplished in a professional way, you know, making it to the OHL and getting there. I was drafted 105th overall, you know, to the OHL. So there's no guarantee that I was going to play, but ended up making the team. And those first 2 weeks I was there, it was very, very difficult for me. As sure it was for a lot of kids. Yeah. And the first 2 weeks, I remember I cried every day. Wow. Every day I cried because I grew up in a family of 5 kids. I was used to having my brothers and my sisters there with me. I grew up in a culture that was different. I had West Indian parents, like the way they cooked every day and the way things were different when I left. So to have all of that stuff and dealing with all of that, the change of scenery, dealing with cultural differences, like this is the first time I moved away from home. You know, nobody really understands where I'm from. And there are a couple guys on the team at the time that were from Toronto, but everybody else was from different places. So, you know, the only other guy that looked like me in the town of Belleville when I moved there was the Zamboni driver, Norman, who drove the Zamboni. God bless him, one of the nicest guys ever. But, you know, that was the culture that I was into. But, you know, if I had the money tomorrow to go to Belleville and buy a cottage on the Bay of Quinte, I would do it tomorrow. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life being there for 4 years and what I went through with those players. But I cried every day. Like those first 2 weeks, I had some very, very tough nights. And I had tough nights in the NHL too. There were a lot of times where I did things that were in the media or ended up coming out in the media or said things. You never know if you're 100% right or just, but you follow your heart. You know you're a good person. You trust yourself that you have the right intangibles and you were brought up the right way and you're thinking the right way and it comes from the right place. So for me, I was always confident to be myself because I never thought I was doing anything wrong. It's different. You know, when I think I'm doing something wrong, I'm going to apologize for it and own it. But if I'm not doing anything wrong, you know, if I make mistakes and honest mistakes, I don't deserve to be crucified for that. My character doesn't deserve to be picked apart for that, but that's okay. Like, you know, it's not about caring about what other people think. It's just about knowing about where you're going and what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do. And, you know, people always say, put your teammates first, but that's the best way to put your teammates first is be yourself and go out there and do your job. Yeah. That's the best way to do it because your teammates are going to know what you're all about if you're being yourself. And if you do your job, they're going to respect you in the end. So those are the only 2 things you can control. And especially in a city like Montreal, you have to be disciplined in that mindset.
Do you, when you were playing, did you read the media? Like you say, sometimes it was hard, but sometimes the media can be pretty hard here. Do you read the media too?
I read everything. I read everything. I never spoke about it. Like, Lappy, how many times, unless it was something that everybody knew,
Yeah.
I would never come into the room. I was never a gossipy guy wanting to talk behind, because I just didn't care. Like, for me, I knew that if you were good on the ice, it didn't matter what anybody was going to say. So for me, I almost looked for critics. I almost looked for people to try to tee me up when I had a bad game or get on me, because that just gave me more of an emphasis to want to prove that I could be that guy and that it was okay for me to make mistakes, because I knew I could bounce back. And I did. I made big ones at different times. But, I also knew how hard I worked in the off season. I know how well I trained. I knew the guys I was playing against. I knew the team that I had with me. So I always knew that if I left it on the ice, this, Lappy, Kobe, Michael Jordan, these are people that I look up to. And, if you ever hear about them, most people will probably say that they're I don't know if I can swear here, but, they're not the nicest guys in the world. Well, those would be two guys that I'd love to have on my team. Yeah. And they could be the biggest jerks to me as long as they show up to play. And that was my mindset. So not everybody's mindset is like that, though. People want to be coddled and caressed and always hear the right things. And I'm just not wired that way.
No, you're right. And you're talking about great teammates. You had a few great relationships, but when you think about it, it just doesn't fit together. Like you're a good friend with Carey Price and you're a good friend with Marky. Both of them are the most quiet people in history.
Marky is that's pretty special.
Yeah. It's funny because what I love about Marky is Marky's himself and he's never going to change. And what I love about Pricey, he's definitely himself and he's never going to change, and he's never changed. So all three of us have that in common. And I think that, like, when you're comfortable in your skin, as you get older in this world, you appreciate other people and the differences between you and them.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me a lot in my career, because, I'd almost walk into every locker room and every room in hockey, and I'm different than almost everybody, right? So for me, my mindset was like, I'm going to learn. I'm going to take an opportunity to learn about different people's cultures. And, maybe that'll open the door to people learning about me and where I'm from and try to understand me better. And I think that mindset really helped me throughout my career. Going to the Olympics with Pricey and playing on that Olympic team, I got a chance to meet all of these great hockey players that I played against and had battles with. And I think the best part about it was they all had a chance to get to know me personally.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them had a different respect for me, just being around the team, seeing me every day and doing that. And I think for Marky, when I first met him, Marky had no idea how big of a fan I was of him. Like, I could have told him till he was blue in the face. It would have never done him justice. I used to watch him play with my dad. My dad told me he loved the number 76 because if you flip the 6 upside down, it's 79 like Markov. Like, my dad was all in on Andrei Markov and the way he played, because Marky might be one of the smartest players I've ever seen play the game of hockey.
100%.
And he is one of the most talented players I've ever seen play, because he's not a great skater. He was never a great skater, smooth skater, but not a fast guy, not the most mobile guy. He's had huge injuries, knee injuries. And this guy still, on a nightly basis, where people were saying, oh, PK, he's the best defenseman. He's so great out there. And I'm like, yeah, but, you guys don't understand the plays that I make. A lot of them were from watching Andrei do it every single night. I took so many things from his game and applied them. And I think in the best time of my career, when I was at my best, it was when I would play like Andrei Markov. Think about that. I used to.
Do you feel that you earned his respect the day you replaced him in the playoff? Because he's a pretty quiet guy, doesn't really talk to people. And you remember when you arrived in Pittsburgh or Washington, the year he got hurt. I feel like the way you played, he looked at you and he's like, "Okay, I got to take care of this kid."
Well, with Marky, first, if you can't play, like any other player, he ain't going to address you. Like, if you can't play, you can't play.
That's why I never talked to me.
That's why I never talked to you.
And that's why he's the general. That's why he's the general. That's why, that's why he's the man. And, so for me, I'm sure I earned his respect and a number of people's respect when I played. But I think with him, Marky wanted to win. He never spoke a lot about it. He doesn't talk a lot about anything, but he wanted to win. And I knew that about him because the time that he took to coach me and take me into his car after he ripped me in front of the team and said, PK, you can't play like that. Coach says you got to put the puck in deep. Marky gets player of the game after the game. And I think I had in a goal. This is the Markov story. We're playing and Randy Cunningworth is our coach. And we're going into the third period. The second period's done. And, I think at this point, and I had a goal and an assist in the game. I think we were up 3-1 or 3-2 or something like that. And I was having a great game. And Randy Cunningworth goes, listen, if we're going to make a push to the playoffs, guys, this third period, I want the puck in deep every time we get to the red line. And, I want to make sure that we're playing our style of play and we're focused on playing playoff hockey, winning hockey. So we go up for the third period, and this happened to me a lot in my career. I'm not going to say that I just did this on a whim, but it just happened. Change, puck goes back into our corner. I pick up the puck behind the net, skate, and I'm looking for the first pass. It's not there, so I beat one guy. I'm looking for the second pass. It's kind of there, but he's in the middle of the ice. I don't have enough time to assess, so I beat the second guy. At this point, the crowds are going PK, right? So now I get to the red line. Instead of dumping it, no one's at me now. I've beaten two guys. So I take it in. The crowd's still going. I pass it to, I can't remember who I passed it to. I think it might have been Gio or something. I backhanded it. He one-timed it. Big save, went over. Crowd's going nuts still. And I come to the bench. We end up winning the game. And Markov was the player of the game before. We give out a hard hat or whatever. So Marky, Randy Cunningworth comes in. Pierre Gauthier is there. And coach goes, great game, guys, And Marky stands up. He's got the player of the game. And they go, he goes, okay, guys, I know I got to give this away. He goes, great game. He goes, PK, you can't play like that. Right in front of the whole team after a win. PK, you can't play like that. I know that you're a fan favorite and you're a well-liked player here, and I get that. I respect that. But coach says he wants the puck in deep. You got to put the puck in deep. I know you're a fan favorite, but for our team to win, you got to play the team style, right? And then he goes and gives the player of the game to somebody else or whatever. So, I'm in my locker. And I want to tell this story because it's important. I know it's going to take some time. You guys are going to edit this thing.
Take your time.
So I'm sitting in my stall there. And I remember a couple of guys are giggling and laughing because Lappy, you know me, I'm silly. So a couple of guys are laughing at me and they're giggling. They're like, Marky gave it to you. That's on you. So I'm sitting there, but I'm also thinking I look up to this guy. So anyway, game happens. We play back-to-back. We played in Buffalo. We end up going to Buffalo and we lose. I think it's 4-1 or something like that, 4-2. And I'm on the plane and we're leaving. And, I'm a young guy still. I think I was in my first or second year. And the guys are coming off the plane. And Marky comes up to me on the plane and taps me on the shoulder. And he goes, hey, PK, when we get to the Bell Center, you come with me. And the couple guys go like this, ooh. Right? I'm like, what's Marky? I'm like, what's he want with me? So we get to the rink, we get to the Bell Center, and you got to remember this. Anybody that knows me, Lappy, you know this. I've never been a car guy. You never seen me in a nice car, never. It's always a dealership car or something like that. So Marky's got good taste. This is an S550 Mercedes, S600 Mercedes at this time. You know what I mean? Nice. The roof comes back, all this stuff. And I'm like, Marky, I'm not driving this car because I'm thinking if I bang this thing up, my mom's going to kill me if I got to give him $200,000 or something like that to fix the bumper. And he's like, don't worry about it. Just drive. So we're in the car and Marky starts to tell me about the Dynamo Elite League and the coach that he played for and, what it was like. And he said that when they won and their team had success, he said it was because the coach made sure that they all played a certain way. He said, PK, our team may not be great right now, but at some point we're going to be good. And when that happens, you're too good of a player to not be playing the way that the team needs to be played. There's going to be time and a place to do that stuff. You can do it, but we need you to do that. Then we went to a bar with one of his buddies and, the rest is history and a few drinks, and that was it. But everybody asked me about Markov, and I'm going to tell you, there were a handful of guys that did that to me in my career. Lappy, in training camp, you took me out on Saint Laurent Street for the first time, not to get banged up, to introduce me to all the people I know now. There was always a handful of guys throughout my career that weren't just quick to crack the whip and point out when I was doing something wrong, but took me along and taught me about how to be and how to do things and how to be a certain way. And that's a big difference. It's easy to crack the whip, but it's very difficult to figure out how to lead. And that's why I had so much respect for Marky, because yeah, he called me out in front of the whole team, but he also brought me in and told me where I was doing things wrong and how I needed to improve. Not for right now, but because he saw where the team was going. And to me, that's leadership. So,
100%.
that's where my relationship with him started. And when you think about it, this is a guy from Russia, and a guy from, Canada who came in. Yeah. And I'm sure Marky was annoyed as hell of me when I came in with all the energy that I got bouncing around and jumping around and putting on the music. I'm sure that annoyed him as a 30-year-old guy who had been in the league. A Hall of Fame guy for me, a guy who's been one of the best players ever. But, our relationship, I really enjoyed the growth of our relationship. And, it took a lot of work. I sat at the Russian table every day at lunch, and they asked me why I was sitting there. And I told them it's because I wanted to learn Russian. So these guys, I pried my way in there, and lo and behold, here I am jumping on a flight to go to Moscow to watch him get married and celebrate with he and his whole family. So yeah, Marky's always going to be family to me. I love him like a brother. And, with Pricey, it's like, me and Pricey, when I came in and started playing for the team, Pricey, he wasn't playing at that time. Halak was playing when I got called up.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how I learned about Pricey was, I remember this. He was giving guys shit that, weren't playing, guys that weren't focused on taking care of their bodies or making sure that they were doing the extra work after practice. That's the one thing I love about Pricey. You look at his whole career and you can look at the middle and the end and what he accomplished. But at the beginning, when he was not in the net and Halak was in that net, I watched that guy put the team first. I watched him have the right attitude. And he learned. And that's why, for me, it was a personal relationship for me to want to see him do well. And that's why we had the 0005 celebration and all of that. It's so funny. Like, people look at it that it was about me. Like, for me, that was about my relationship with Pricey. Yeah. I got to play in front of him. I got to block shots. I got to make sure that I have a great relationship and friendship with him. And we did have that. And we built on that. And it became more of a personal relationship. But make no doubt about it. Like, me and Pricey formed that relationship on the ice. And we wanted everybody to celebrate that. We wanted, like, that was something I looked forward to, trying to cut my teeth. Because for me, I loved playing in Montreal. I wanted to win, but I wanted to be a part of a team too and win. And, so for Pricey and I, our relationship grew definitely, but that 0005 celebration to me was the start of our friendship and what it meant.
Talk to me about that moment, because that's unreal pictures. There's been so many great moments in the Canadiens' history, but I feel like that this image of you and Pricer, cowboy hat with your... I'll let you describe that jacket because I don't know how to describe it. But that's an unbelievable moment, right? Like, you must have. Did you cry? Like, that's phenomenal.
Pricey for me. When I think of my time in Montreal, I think of him. When I think of the city of Montreal, I think of Pricey because he's done everything in that city. Like, he was the guy from the very start, from winning winning a championship in the AHL to coming up to the playoffs. And he dealt with everything head on, So when I kind of came in, like, Pricey was already the man in Montreal. Like, everybody knew who Carey Price was. He was the future of this team. So when I came in, I wanted to help him with that. I wanted to be a part of that and support him in that. So to me, when I was on that carpet and I see him and, walk out and greet me, and I think about all the times and all the fun times that we had, the source of our success was fun. And I think that that's what I love about looking back at my time in Montreal is how much fun I actually had, you know, building those relationships. And with Pricey, the amount of respect that I have for him, first of all, as a family man, second of all, his mom, his dad, his family, his sister, you know, Pricey's a remarkable human being. And, you know, I'm just so happy for him now to be a family man and moved on from hockey and to see him doing so well. But more importantly, like, that guy's a brother to me. He's like family, you know? So definitely it was cool. But me and Pricey, there's a ton of pictures of us wearing some silly stuff. Like I could roll out a whole album of some silly pictures, man. We had a lot of fun.
Just last question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm hearing you right now. It's automatic. We need to retire his jersey.
I mean, listen, if we're talking about jersey retirements, Andrei Markov's jersey, in my opinion, should be up in those rafters. That's my opinion. I haven't played with a better player in Montreal than him. You know, so for me, you know, that's what I think of him. Yeah. I think that guy is that good, and he deserves that type of respect. But you know, it's not for me. Carey Price, I mean, good luck finding reasons not to put his jersey up in the rafters. Yeah. I mean, he deserves it. He's been, first of all, a great teammate, a great leader for the organization, a great face, and he's performed under immense pressure. You know, the success that he's had, Lappy, you go out and find 100 goaltenders, 50 goaltenders, 10 goaltenders, 5 goaltenders that would have had the success that Pricey had in Montreal under that pressure. Wow. Absolutely not. So he deserves everything that comes his way in terms of the respect from the game. I think he should have it all, but that's just me.
Yeah. Can you bring us into the trade when you got the call going to Nashville against Shea Weber? Can you talk to us about it?
Yep, I was in Paris eating foie gras. I was in Paris eating foie gras. I was in Paris. I was doing you guys know, as my career went on, part of disconnecting from the Montreal and the media and hockey in itself was I had to go to Europe to do that. I had to get completely out of North America, and I enjoyed going over to Europe. So right around that time, I went out to Europe, and, you know, there was a lot of talk about it before. You know, I had a neck injury that year where Emlyn had hit me by accident. By the way, I still have neck chronic tightness. Like, I get massage every day on my neck because of the chronic tightness from this hit, you know? So, you know, I, as you saw, Lappy, you said you saw me lifting dumbbells. Well, I have to do a ton of maintenance just to maintain the muscle in my upper body because of my neck, you know? So it's still something that I have to manage and deal with today. But that injury, I missed the last 12 games of the season. And I remember there were questions around whether I was really as hurt as I was or not. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that people just wanted me cleared medically for the summer. Yeah. And because there was a ton of smoke about that. And, you know, when you look back at that year, I mean, individually, I had 50 points that year, which is, I think, a respectful number.
Pretty good.
You know, in a year where I tried different things, like I got leaner that summer to get faster, to get quicker, to try to change my game, to adapt to it. And I thought there were a lot of positives out of that year. When you think of us missing Pricey, we had our goaltending situation. We had Mike Condon. We had Justin Tokarski. It was like a revolving door. Like, you know, I remember being really upset that year because I thought that Cam Ward was available. Cam Ward was available that year. He was only making $4 million. And I'm like, he had 2 years left on his deal. And I thought we should have went out and got him because I thought where our team was with the right goaltender, we would have made the playoffs. I mean, we had made the playoffs every year since. Mm-hmm. So I really thought we would have had that opportunity, and we never did that. And, you know, to me, that was a mistake. I thought our team, you know, as a GM, you have to go out and find resolutions. And you guys put the pressure on me, Pricey, and Patch every year, and whoever else, Gomer, Gianta, whoever was there at the time, to put our team in the playoffs, you know? And never once was I ever asked about my opinion on what I thought we needed as a team. When you think about how involved I was in all situations, I was never asked. I was never asked about those things that year. So I can never really speak to the trade because for me, I still don't understand the reasoning behind it, right? When you think of it from a hockey side, from my age side, I mean, obviously going on to play in Nashville and the years that I had there were great years, and I'm happy about those years. But, I wanted to give those years to Montreal. So when the trade happened, it was one of those things of like, all I thought about was the relationships that I had with those players, the guys that I got to know there, because the friends and the people around Montreal, you're always going to be able to go back and see them. But it's your teammates. It's the people it's the trainers. It's the people that you work with every day. And I thought about that and going into a different situation. And that was a little bit scary. But, for me, the way it happened was it wasn't my choice. So, that allowed me to turn the page and focus on putting my energy into Nashville. And I remember a lot of people saying that I wouldn't be the same player because playing in front of a Nashville crowd is different than playing in front of a Montreal crowd. And, I hate to say it, but my talent's a little bit more than just energy. You know what I mean? I think I bring some other skills to the table than just that. But, I was Lappy on that trade. It was hearing Berge come out and say that they weren't looking to shop me or they weren't. I already had known earlier that summer that when a GM or an organization doesn't come out and bite things in the butt right away and say, hey, we're not trading this guy. This guy's here. We signed him to 8 years. He's going to be here for 8 years. That's what we want. He just came out and said that we're not looking to trade PK, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to do it. Right. Yeah. So the reality is that I knew that before going there, and that's a part of the business. I never took any of that stuff personally. No. Like that was a part of the business. For me, I knew that it was going to take some time for me to twist around the fact that like I had unfinished business in Montreal. That was the toughest thing because that was taken away from me. The opportunity to fulfill the goal that I started out there to do, and that was to win a Stanley Cup. So, ultimately the disappointing part is that wasn't ultimately left up to me. I signed that contract thinking I was going to have 8 years to do that, which means that not every year is going to be your year to win it. I mean, if you don't have Carey Price in net, you're going to have a hard time winning a Stanley Cup without Norris trophies on your back end and superstars on your front end. So, in Montreal, we didn't have that size up the middle. There were a lot of different things. So me and Pricey and Patch made up for a lot of that, for those holes. So I think for me, the feeling leaving was that it was an unfinished chapter in my book. But, I moved on and had a chance to win a Stanley Cup in Nashville, got really, really close, but had 3 really good years there. So, I was excited about that.
Was there a time where you thought in your career you would come back as a free agent or in a trade?
There was an opportunity, I think, to do that. I mean, listen, today people still ask me, people still say, dude, you should be training. You could still be playing. And I don't think people get it. Like, guys, I'm not a GM. Like, I can't offer myself a contract, a fitting contract for what I'm going to do. Listen, I hate to say this, but, in the world of hockey, we've seen the events of different things that have happened over the years, catastrophic events on the ice. And I think sometimes it's a reminder to us that, when you step on the ice, anything can happen. Like it is life or death for us. It is life or death for football players. For some of us, it has that element to it. And you have to be sure that when you step onto the ice, that you're completely okay with what you're getting paid, the opportunity and the situation you're being put in. And for me, I had my independence to say, no, I'm not going to play there, or no, that's not going to work for me, or this isn't the right situation. And, the reality is I didn't have to say no to anybody. I didn't get one single phone call. I did not get a phone call. Not one team called me and said, hey, dude, what are you thinking? We're strapped to the cat. Not one person did that. So for me, like people,
you were free
people
agent?
go to me, free agent.
And how old were you?
Dude, I don't know. How old am I now? 35? So I don't know. This is like, what, 2 years ago? So I would have been 32, 33.
0 phone calls. Your promise.
Dude, not one team. Not one team.
serious.
Dude, I asked, my agent called GMs, and they said, oh, we're going in a different direction. So I said,
Where the fuck were they going?
I said, okay, guys. No, and like, listen, I'm not going to name names on teams because my point isn't to bash people and put people down. I don't do that. I don't have time for that.
I'm
but,
shocked right now.
You know, oh no, there was one team that offered me a PTO that said, we'll give you a PTO to come out. We got too many contracts. We'll give you a PTO. And I said, okay.
Is it better to offer nothing then?
Well, that's what I'm kind of saying. I'm almost saying, like, maybe they did me a favor. I don't know. Like, you know, but Laffy, you know this. I've always kept my emotions close to the chest.
Yeah.
And the one thing I will say is I never, even when a lot of people thought that, I never thought I was bigger than the game, never thought I was bigger than the Montreal Canadiens, never thought I was bigger than the Shield. I'm not looking for a farewell tour. I'm not looking for people to say, oh, sorry, poor me. Don't feel sorry for me. You know, I had a great career, made good money playing that career, made a lot of friends, made a lot of relationships, and I'm happy about it. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find people that can replicate that. So, you know, for me, I was happy about my career at that point. And I knew that, listen, you know, the way you do things matters in this world. I would never tell a kid to go out there and be himself because not everybody may like it. It could hurt you in certain ways. And I felt that the opportunity to go out and play and be in a situation that would bring the best out of me wasn't presented to me. And if it's not presented to you, then you don't have a decision to make. The only decision is to move on, respect the game and what it's given you, which is more than anything in this world has ever given me, and move down the road.
So that's what led you to ESPN, basically, or there was a few steps in between? Because is that the day you turned and you say, that's what I want to do now? I'm good at it and I'm going to do it?
Well, my mindset was that, dude, I could do ESPN when I'm 40 years old. Not specifically ESPN, but I could do TV when I'm 45. Like, I don't need to do it at 32. I think that narrative was spun, you know, that I was somehow looking forward to going and working in the booth. Like, guys, I don't have a Stanley Cup. So not one person called me and said, hey, PK, do you want to win a cup? Do you want to win a cup? Okay, here's what we need from you. This is what we need. No one did that. So what I'm saying is that's the level of commitment and preparation, the standard that I live to, is that if somebody wants me on their team, they're going to tell me what my role is and what our goal is and what we're trying to achieve. Then I'm all in. Then I'll throw my face in front of the shot, block shots, run a power play if you need to, penalty kill, even strength, shut down. What do I care? Like, you know, I've won Norris trophies. I've been up for them. I've won Olympic gold medal. I've been on all-star teams, captain all teams, video game. All of that stuff is great, but I'm a hockey player. Like, I don't know, that passion that you see on the ice, it doesn't just leave, right? Yeah. So my passion for the game is still there, but the reality is that no one had the vision that I had in terms of what I had left, and that's okay with me. Like, I'd rather it be that way than being pulled into a situation where I got to be grumpy every day, being at the rink, being miserable, being a bad teammate. I've never been that way. I never will.
How special is it to work with Mark Messier? Because I look, again, you're friend with Marky, you're friend with Pricer, and then you're like, the other level, that's never going to fit with Mark Messier. You guys are just laughing and having fun.
Oh, it's been really cool getting to know Mesh, you know. First of all, I said this to him. I don't know if he really liked it or not, but I said this to him when I first met him. I'm like, Mesh, you got to understand something. Like, I know you guys won the cup in '94, but like, dude, I was like 4.5 when you guys won the cup. So like, I remember you from the Lay's commercials. The Lay's chips commercials, that's what I remembered him from. So, like, you know, for me, like, people ask me all the time about Mesh, and they're like, oh, you and Mesh got into it. And I'm like, yeah, guys, I have an opinion. I'm going to say my opinion, but like, guys, I pinch myself every day that's Mark Messier sitting next to me. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, this guy, 6 cups, MVPs, like one of the most decorated people in sports, but in hockey, definitely. And guys, like, he still looks like he can play. Like, good-looking guy. Everybody loves Mesh. Big smile. Fun guy. It's just been really, really cool to have a working relationship with them. And, Lappy, that's a challenge for me in every walk of hockey, is being able to have allow people to see who I am and feel comfortable around me, because, I'm a personable guy. Hockey people are a little bit more reserved in the sport. So it was a process for me and Mess, but we got there pretty quickly. With him, it was just awesome kind of getting to know him. And I think everybody saw, kind of the work that we put into our jobs in the finals. And, I thought that the finals went great for us at ESPN.
You say that hockey's pretty reserved. Do you think one day we're going to see something like Travis Kelce and the brothers doing a podcast about hockey, like hockey player?
Do you think it would work in the NHL?
Oh, man. Oh, I think the NHL has more potential than any sports league right now that exists. I don't see another league that has a better foundation than the NHL, because the NHL has culture, and it's old school. There's like old school culture in it, but I mean, you look at it now. We got players doing a show on Netflix, Amazon. We got, it's the exposure now on hockey. It's starting to move. The needle's moving. Like the conversations are happening. The game is opening up. You look at Jack Hughes and Connor Bedard and all these new stars that are coming in. Like, Lappy, they're not listening to Hall & Oates in the room. They're listening to Boogie with a hoodie and Taylor Swift and this music in the room. They ain't listening to Hall & Oates and, you know what I mean, and Metallica and all this stuff. It's a different generation. And you're talking about integrating different cultures and pop cultures and the millennials, and that's what hockey is now tapping into. And I think that hockey's got the biggest ceiling. It does.
That's true.
Do you feel you opened that door? Because let's be honest, you're probably one of the first ones to be like opened up and close to the fans and social media. And
I think just an example of that you can be yourself. Like, I would never tell somebody to follow exactly what I did. I would never tell someone to do that, because not everybody's built for that.
Yeah.
Not everybody's built to be in front of the camera. Not everybody has that interest. Not everybody has the same interest. So you got to respect other people's interests. And I think what people respected about how I did it is I did it in a way that I respected. And, I didn't waver from who I am to do that. And I think, when you're able to couple that with some great years on the ice, it's a perfect storm. But I think that's what allowed me in the end to pivot and move on from hockey in a seamless way, was because I owned the fact early on in my life that I was not going to waver from being myself. Because when hockey is done, nobody's going to be there to talk to me like the guys in the locker room. I got to be out in the real world, living with real people, interacting with real people, not people like us that are the 1%ers that play in the National Hockey League or the NBA It's not realistic. The general population doesn't live that way. So I'm not taking on that persona. I'm just going to be a guy who used to play hockey that has interest in other things, and I'm going to live that out.
Nice.
And that's what I'm doing. And, I'm having a lot of success doing that. So if that's an example to somebody else and they want to follow it, great. But doing that definitely has exposed, I think, me to other things that other hockey players may not have been exposed to,
100%.
for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
We have a few questions to finish. It's just a segment.
Take your time, boys. Take your time.
It's le segment Coca-Cola, puis je pense qu'on a la meilleure personne en P.K Subban, proche des fans, pour venir nous parler de sa relation avec les fans, surtout à Montréal. Fait qu'une présentation de Coca-Cola sans sucre. Tu peux y aller.
Ben, c'est toi qui as la question.
Ah oui, c'est moi qui ai la question. What's the funniest moment in your life? Oh, the question is there. I didn't read the good one. What's the funniest thing ever or said on the ice?
Funniest thing that's ever been said by me,
or you or Lappy,
or you can be on the receiving end.
Funniest thing that ever happened to me was I go back. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. As actually my first game, getting called up for the Habs the year before. This was the season before the playoffs when I got called up.
Yeah.
So I played 2 games, Philly, away, and then home. So I played, I think it was like the Thursday night in Philly and then the Friday night in Montreal, or Friday, Saturday, whatever it was. And the first night, I'm in Philly warming up, and Chris Pronger's out there, and Mike Richards, and Jeff Carter. They got a stacked team, loaded. Anyway, after the game, there's a big scrum in the middle of the ice, and Chris Pronger's there, and he's got two guys. He's got two guys like this. I come around the pile, and Lappy knows this, and I learned from Lappy, because Lappy, no matter what pile, he was getting in there, and he was getting under people's skin, and Lappy's usually swatting me away, being like, PK, this is my job. Just stand over there. Get out of the way. And I'm coming around trying to get in there, and I grab Pronger at the front like this, and he's got two guys. I'm grabbing him on his jersey, and I'm like, dude, you think you're so tough? I'm not scared of you. And I pulled him in, and he's like, dude, at that moment, I mean, I'm talking max intensity. Everybody's yelling, screaming, throwing punches. At that moment, he looked at me and he goes, oh my God, your breath stinks. He lets both guys go and skates right off the ice. That's what he said to me.
That's pretty good.
Dude, no, but he was so disgusted. He's like, oh my God, your breath stinks. Oh, that's just, oh. And he wasn't, like, he made me believe that, like, my breath smelled bad. Like, it wasn't even like I was like, this guy's screwing with me. Like, I was dying. Oh, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
He made me believe it was true.
Dude, I did. I actually thought, like, I was like, because I got in close. I got in tight, right? I pull him in. I'm like, I'm not scared of you. You think you're so tough. And he's like, oh, my God, your breath. Oh. It was just disgusting. He was disgusted. Oh, yeah. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Never forget that. Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
That's pretty
Wrong.
good. Can we stop there?
OK. Mets un autre, Simon.
Who are you a fan of? Like, obviously, you were a superstar in the NHL, but who were you looking up to when you were a child or later in your career?
You know, a guy I looked up to who, you know, I had a lot of guys I looked up to outside of hockey, though. Like, for me, like, the athletes that I actually looked up to the most, outside of the Wayne Gretzky's and Bobby Orr, who I never got to play, but I watched the best of Bobby Orr tape 5,000 times. You know, like, I saw so many players come through, but I was always a fan of two players. I was always more of a fan of the forwards in the NHL. Like, I was very rarely a fan of a defenseman. Like, I'd be like, a guy's good, but like Oleg Saprikin, I was a fan of him.
Wow.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I was a fan of certain players in the National Hockey League. But when it came to athletes, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. And the only athletes in hockey that I can really look to, that I look up to, that I could be like, oh, you know, which guy was on that level? I would probably have to say the one guy that I played against, I'd have to say it's Crosby.
Yeah.
I'd have to say it's Crosby. And, you know, Crosby and I, we're close in age, so he's not far from me, but I remember this. I'll talk about Sidney Crosby and the impact that he had on me as a young player. I remember playing junior hockey in Belleville, and we used to go to the Starbucks every day, like before practice or after practice. And then we're not even going for the coffees, really. It's the frappuccinos with the whipped cream and all the bull crap on top. So we go in there, and sometimes we'll sit down, and they have the Sports Illustrated magazines. And there's one of Crosby, and he's jumping over somebody on the ice. I can't remember what the title was or what it had said, but it's him jumping over a guy on the ice, like kind of like high-stepping somebody. And I looked at his laces, and he had skipped his second eyelet on his laces. So he had like an X, like he would tie his skates normal, and then he had an X at the top. So what do you think I did for the next 2 years? I tied my skates like Sidney Crosby did, you know, and because I watched him play. I watched him come out of junior. And the reason why I put him in the same category as a Michael Jordan, as a Kobe Bryant, is because every time I watch Sidney Crosby, no matter what level he's at, he was never satisfied.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's another player that I've ever played against that I can say, like, you know, McDavid, he's like that too. Like, he's hungry, but I don't know if I've seen anybody with that mindset other than Sidney Crosby. He's got to be the closest guy to him because, like, I've been the guy that's punched him in the mouth before. Like, I've hit him. I've seen him go down. I see guys get discouraged. And, like, this guy, he don't forget anything. Like, he doesn't forget nothing. He's uber competitive. Even though he doesn't talk a whole lot. I mean, he talks a lot, but, like, he doesn't really get into it that much. There's a mental game with him internally that goes on that I'll always have respect for because that's the respect that athletes have to really get that true respect from me. You know, I don't care about the points and all of that stuff because there's guys that are always going to get points, but are you a winner? Like, if it comes down to one game, I still want Sidney Crosby as my number one centerman. You know, that says everything about it. So he'd be the guy.
For sure. Thank you, PK.
Hey,
Thanks
PK,
for your time.
Thanks so much, man. You're so generous, and obviously, it's always special when you get all like ex-teammates, you, Pricer, like just the fact that you guys say yes with it. You're busy, man.
Yeah.
What do you got? 4 apartments? When you need to travel that much, it's because you're a busy person. So we really appreciate it, man.
Hey, no problem. And you know what, guys? It's an honor to come on your podcast because I know how difficult it is to do these things. And it takes a lot of organization and work, and you guys are putting in the work. So that's why I'll come on. I'll come on again, too. Hopefully I'm a friend of the show now.
Yeah.
But you guys continue to do a good job and grind away at it. And, we'll be looking. Hopefully a lot of people watch this episode.
Yeah,
so hopefully
100%.
hopefully a lot of people love it. You know I love Montreal. Love everybody there. So
Thanks, man. Thanks so much. We'll send the show
all right,
to
boys.
to
Guy, good seeing you, too, Guy.
It was fun. It was fun. It's been a long time.
All right, boys.
It's been a while.
Lappy.
Take care, buddy.
I'll text you guys. All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Non, mais c'était bien le fun, ça.
Piqué,
Je pense qu'il aimait ça, Montréal.
Piqué, ce que j'aime avec lui, c'est que t'as pas besoin d'être stressé. Vas-tu répondre aux questions? On va te savoir assez de temps. C'est juste une machine.
J'aime aussi de te faire expliquer sa vision puis comment il voyait les affaires. Dans le sens que, tu sais, souvent...
Il était en tabarnak de partir de Montréal.
Ouais, non, mais je veux dire, tu sais, il a été critiqué des fois dans sa personnalité, sa façon d'être, puis lui, c'est comme, je suis de même, je suis moi, puis faut respecter ça. Moi, je trouve ça...
C'est parce que c'est drôle, parce que, on va le dire ouvertement, la Ligue nationale de hockey, c'est une ligue de constipés. C'est constipé, là.
Ouais.
Puis lui, il a essayé, il a été le premier à essayer de mettre le pied, de dire « Let's go, on ouvre la machine
Ouais. ».
C'est drôle parce que tous les sports, ils ont plus de visibilité, puis ça marche plus.
Ça marche.
Puis les joueurs, ils s'ouvrent. Fait que... Puis ça a pris quand même du temps quand tu y penses. Ça a pris au moins 15 ans avec sa façon de faire soit la normale. Là.
Ouais, puis la Ligue nationale est encore loin.
Ils sont encore
très loin de ce que lui faisait il y a 15 ans.
Ouais, 100%.
Merci, P.K. C'était super le fun. On revient dans quelques instants.
L'entrevue avec P.K Subban vous a été présentée par le Ford Mustang Mach-E Select 2024. Obtenez la Mustang Mach-E Select 2024 en location à 128 $ par semaine sur 60 mois avec 0 $ d'acompte. D'une valeur au détail de 49 253 $, incluant les incitatifs gouvernementaux jusqu'au 9 octobre.
Et les paris de la semaine, Bet365, partenaire officiel des paris sportifs de la Poche Bleue. Jouez maintenant, c'est jamais ordinaire avec Bet365. Et le début de saison s'en vient, donc on a décidé d'y aller avec qui va gagner le trophée du président.
Qui va finir premier dans la Ligue nationale de hockey.
Trophée du président, c'est ça?
Oui, exactement. Puis j'en ai 2. Puis je voulais juste en sortir une petite coquine dans le coin à droite, le Lightning de Tampa Bay. Tu sais que souvent je gage pour eux, que ce soit pour gagner la Coupe Stanley et tout ça. 23 fois ta mise. C'est une équipe, l'an passé, qui en a arraché. Vasilevski n'était pas là. Il revenait d'une opération. Il n'était pas prêt en début de saison. Je pense qu'on a oublié que c'était le meilleur gardien de la Ligue nationale. L'ajout de Genzel qui arrive là, puis lui, il va être craqué pas à peu près parce qu'il ne veut pas avoir l'air du gars qui arrive et qui est vraiment moins bon que Stamkos. McDonough qui est arrivé en défensive. Il y a eu la perte de Sergachev, mais on a aussi fait des acquisitions en défensive qui sont des joueurs solides, stables, qui ne font pas d'erreur. Ce gageur-là, moi, ce serait ça. Je pense que c'est un long shot, on le sait bien évidemment. Je pense que les livres cette année vont être solides avec leur entraîneur, ils vont être intenses. Ekman, Larson, Tanev qui va aider la défensive. Finalement, on a des gars qui sont stables défensivement, qui sont capables de ne pas faire d'erreurs, bloquer des lancers. L'Avalanche, il y a Landeskog qui a patiné cet été. Je ne sais pas s'il va être capable de jouer. Les Oilers, pour moi, sont en feu, sont allés en finale. Tu as fait l'acquisition de joueurs de profondeur à l'attaque pour entourer Draisaitl avec Arvidsson et puis Skinner. C'est des gars qui sont capables de... C'est Arvidsson? Oui, c'est Arvidsson. Right? À droite?
Oui.
Oui. Mais il me semble, parce qu'il y a... Non, mais c'est parce qu'il y a...
J'étais dans l'une.
Parce qu'il y a d'autres joueurs qui sont partis de l'autre bord qui ont des noms semblables.
Mais
les Oilers n'ont pas de défensif pour moi, encore une fois, puis ça serait pas ça mon pari. Il y a les Stars qui sont toujours en feu.
Mais je trouve, moi, que ça va être un clip qui n'est pas dans cette liste-là. Tu sais, dans le sens que je trouve tellement, tu sais, Nashville a tellement été agressif. Ils sont allés chercher des gars comme Marchessault, mais quel impact ça va avoir sur Vegas. Tu sais, il y a tellement eu de pertes de joueurs puis de mélange. Utah qui sont rentrés, qui ont été actifs. Ils sont allés chercher un gars comme Sergachev. Sont-ils capables, tu sais, un club comme Seattle qui a été très bon la première année, mais tu sais, pas au point de gagner le trophée du président. Mais il y a plusieurs, tu sais, les prédateurs de Nashville,
ouais, c'est ça, c'est
ils seront pas loin.
Les prédateurs de Nashville vont être bons, mais il y a encore de la jeunesse. Ils sont très bons défensivement. Mais tu sais, Oilers là, commence l'année, Ecombe, Bouchard. Puis après ça, en défensive, tu as Nurse, Emberson, Kulak, Brown. Ouais. Je les connais même pas, à part Kulak. Puis Nurse qui était mauvais en...
Moi, je pense que ça va être un club en dehors de cette liste-là. Donc, c'est important d'aller sur l'application, voir toutes les cotes de toutes les équipes de la Ligue pour avoir l'opportunité de faire des sous avec Bet365. C'est jamais ordinaire. Donc, merci à notre partenaire encore une fois cette année.
La troisième période vous est présentée par Molson.
Yes, dans le... Ben, on est bien, hein? On est bien, on se rassit dans nos...
On est bien ici. Ils sont de retour!
Ils sont de retour, nos amis de chez Molson. Donc, on remercie de leur présence. Merci beaucoup, la gang. Ça a été...
ça fait longtemps
3 ans
qu'on est
déjà?
associé à Molson quand
3
tu
ans.
penses.
Là, on se rajoute un autre
années avec
contrat.
le Canadien. Puis...
On est content. On est content. Merci à la gang de Molson. Puis,
c'est nos
que
plus
ce
longs
soit
contrats en carrière.
une Export, une Ultra, une Excel, on lève notre Molson en votre nom. Molson, tous ensemble, la gang. Puis on a pris des appels, des messages textes qu'on a reçus sur les réseaux sociaux, des questions qu'on avait. Puis la première qu'on a choisie, c'est par rapport au match d'hier. Est-ce que Arber Xhekaj méritait une suspension?
Bien, à un moment donné, si la Ligue ne le suspend pas, il n'y a pas de suspension de la part de la Ligue, c'est qu'ils ont pris la bonne décision, puis ils ont gardé 1000 angles de caméra, puis ils ont décidé que c'était son bâton qu'il avait reçu dans le visage. C'est tout ça la réponse qu'on a? Parce que si tu peux pas... Si tu commences à suspendre pour une intention, il va en avoir pas à peu près des suspensions.
Ben, moi, je trouve là-dessus que la punition de match était suffisante. Ouais. Fait que Xhekaj ne jouera pas le premier match de la saison, c'est ça que j'en comprends?
Non, je pense pas qu'il est suspendu.
Il n'y a pas de rien. La Ligue,
je pense que la Ligue n'a rien.
Mais il n'y a pas eu un 5 plus une automatique?
Je sais pas, c'est-tu 2? Mais oublions ça. C'est les joueurs en général. On a essayé d'une couple d'années d'enlever cette mise en échec-là quand le gars ne regarde pas et il coupe au centre. Je pense que ce qu'il a fait, c'est qu'il a essayé de reproduire exactement ce que Craig a essayé de faire sur Dach.
Moi, c'est là que j'ai un problème. Moi, c'est là que j'ai un petit problème. Dans le sens que Xhekaj, au dernier match, a été suspendu. Il a sauté sur le gars qui a blessé l'année contre Toronto. Il a reçu une amende. Là, on se retrouve que Greg fait un hit sur Kirby Dach. On se retrouve après ça que là, on s'en va vraiment avec un intention. L'intention, c'est de faire mal, c'est de blesser. Je trouve que Xhekaj, il faut passer un message quand même. Pour moi, je trouve qu'un match de suspension, je suis à l'aise.
Le message qui était passé, moi, il est bien plus grave que ça. C'est à Xhekaj de ne pas retourner où ce qui était avant d'aller à Laval l'an passé.
Oui, c'est ça.
Parce qu'hier, il y a eu une leçon là-dessus je ne veux pas dire de maturité, mais tu as la façon que Xhekaj l'a réglé, puis tu as Struble. Struble, il a pogné un gros hit de la bonne façon, il a passé son message, puis il est passé à autre chose.
Ouais.
Puis c'est ça qu'il va faire, selon moi, que Struble va commencer dans l'alignement. Parce qu'il joue solide. Tu sais, Xhekaj, là, ce qu'il est supposé de faire, il est supposé de bien jouer défensivement, faire une bonne première passe, donner des bonnes mises en échec pour séparer le joueur de la rondelle. Puis si jamais il arrive de quoi, puis quelqu'un challenge, d'être capable de se battre parce qu'il est très bon là-dedans aussi. Là, en ce moment, il veut juste... On revient à la même place à dépasser. Il veut montrer c'est qui le shérif.
Ouais.
On s'en crise du shérif. On veut un joueur de hockey, un bon défenseur qui est difficile à affronter.
Hey, 5 minutes de punition, 3 buts. Là. Je comprends que c'est match pré-saison, tout, mais je veux dire, en saison, imagine comment ça crie aujourd'hui.
Je vais lui laisser la chance de démontrer ce qu'il est capable de faire en saison. Parce que tu sais comme moi que des fois, ton focus n'est pas à la même place durant un match hors concours. Mais faut qu'il arrête ça. Faut qu'il soit peurant à jouer contre d'un limite.
C'est ça. Je suis d'accord à 100%.
Autre
question qu'on a eue, est-ce que, tu sais, on a parlé souvent, surtout dans le dernier podcast qu'on a fait, que Cole Caulfield va peut-être avoir un défi, que Patrick Laine va rentrer, puis que là, on va se retrouver un peu qui va être sur le power play. La blessure de Laine, est-ce que ça remet Cole Caulfield dans ses mêmes souliers pantoufles de l'année passée?
pense pas que ça l'aurait déstabilisé d'avoir de la compétition, d'avoir de l'aide sur l'avantage numérique, mais justement, il faut qu'ils prennent. L'année passée, il a pris un gros step. Tu sais, les gens disent qu'il y a eu une moins bonne saison, mais il y a eu une très bonne saison parce qu'il s'est amélioré dans plusieurs facettes du jeu. Puis des fois, en se concentrant là-dessus, tu marques moins de buts, mais il a fait plus de points. Fait qu'il a été capable de produire offensivement. Mais moi, je mets la pression sur lui, puis Suzuki, bien évidemment, mais sur lui, puis l'avantage numérique. Parce qu'à un moment donné, c'est toi qu'il faut qu'elle décoche la shot, puis tout est construit autour de toi. Puis c'est toi qu'il faut qu'il trouve le trou pour être ouvert sur sa patinoire. Puis c'est toi qu'il faut qu'il rentre avec la vitesse, avec la rondelle sur le fameux drop pass qu'on dit. Cette année, je veux qu'il prenne le step de dire je suis un leader dans cette équipe-là, puis l'attaque elle passe par moi, puis je vais démontrer que j'en veux un petit peu plus. Ça ne veut pas dire qu'il a mal fait l'an passé, mais faut qu'il lève son jeu d'un cran, comme que Suzuki va falloir qu'il le fasse, puis Slavkovski aussi.
Moi, j'aurais vraiment aimé ça que pour la carrière de Caulfield, qu'il vive ça, le Patrick Laine qui est capable de scorer des goals dans le même rôle que lui, sur le même one-timer across. J'aurais vraiment aimé ça 2 fois que Caulfield soit sur le banc même en train de regarder l'avantage numérique, puis Laine est en siffle 2, puis là, il fait comme OK, je suis en train de me faire passer, puis là, ça l'aurait forcé. Là, on se retrouve d'un soulier, il faut qu'il le fasse par lui-même. J'espère qu'il va le faire. Comme tu dis, il n'y a pas eu une mauvaise saison l'an passé. Ça a commencé tranquillement. Mais j'aurais aimé ça vivre un peu, le voir dans une situation de vraiment. Tu sais, l'an passé, l'arbitre levait le bras et se levait en même temps. Là.
C'est ça, mais moi, j'aimerais ça voir une autre recette cette année, que si ça ne marche pas en partant à saison, là, on oublie toujours les matchs hors concours. Après 2 games, si ça ne marche pas l'avantage numérique, là, mais qu'ils séparent Suzuki et Caulfield. Puis qu'ils mettent Suzuki, Dach, qu'ils mettent quelqu'un devant le net, Slavkovski de l'autre bord, puis Hudson, puis que l'autre bord, ils mettent Caulfield avec Matheson, puis que tu dises le meilleur à soir sur le premier PP, c'est lui qui va jouer le plus à soir. C'est tout.
Qu'il y
en ait de la compétition. Là.
Il faut qu'il y en ait. Les goalers, on va leur en donner. Les défenseurs, on leur en donne. On est jeunes. À l'attaque, il faut en donner aussi.
À Saint-Louis, une fois, c'est arrivé, il avait fait deux power play, puis Hitchcock, il était fâché, puis il était tough comme coach, puis un moment donné, il s'est fâché. Il rentre après la première période, il dit « C'est fini, vous autres, mes tabarnak » en anglais, puis il dit « La Pierre, Reeves, Hot, ça va être vous autres en avantage numérique à soir. » Hey,
ça a duré combien de temps?
Ça a duré toute la game, mais c'était
Toute la game?
C'était honteux, man. On jouait littéralement 5 contre 5. À la fin, on dompait le puck, on frappait. Ça marche pas. Tu vois pourquoi que les gars sont là. Imagine-toi une passe across, saucer de moi à Reeves pour un one-timer.
Maintenant. Non, je l'imagine. Ben, la passe, ça doit être flat, mais je veux dire, la réception doit être peut-être moins bonne. Mais non, c'est sûr que... Tu sais, ton top 9, mettons, là, tout le monde peut jouer, puis tu peux challenger tout le monde, puis offrir une opportunité. Je veux dire, Joshua Roy, tu le mets sur le powerplay, il peut faire quelque chose de bien. Là. Il a ça dans le sang, il a joué toute sa vie en powerplay, que ce soit à la Ligue nationale avec des bons joueurs.
Un gars que j'aimerais voir bumper, par exemple, c'est Armia. Autant que des fois, je suis dur sur lui, mais il a une belle fin de saison l'année passée. Il a tout un lancer puissant. Mais les bumpers, tu vas voir, ça va ouvrir Caulfield un petit peu.
Ouais, c'est juste, faut que tu lui dises, toi, t'es là.
Parce que l'année passée, c'était Anderson, des fois.
Non, ça prend un gars avec un IQ.
Ouais, puis avec un lancer sur le net.
Avec un lancé sur le net aussi. Anderson, c'est le pire joueur pour être bumper. Le pire joueur pour 100%. Être bumper, ça, c'est impossible. Ça prend un IQ, ça prend une shot, ça prend un gars qui est dangereux, qui est capable d'attaquer les espaces libres. Ce qui est vraiment pas Josh Anderson. Mais,
désolé, Josh.
Ouais, désolé, Josh. Ça va être... c'est ça. Mais merci tout le monde d'avoir été là. On a eu du fun.
Ouais, merci à P.K.
Ouais, merci à P.K de sa présence. Merci à tout le monde en arrière qui nous a aidés. Puis le prochain show, il est live.
Puis on va vous parler de la saison. Ça, c'est le lendemain que ça commence. Non, c'est pas le lendemain que ça commence, c'est le mercredi que ça commence.
Oui, exact. On fait une petite, pas une taverne, mais un style de... On va recevoir du monde, puis on va avoir du fun. Show le 7 octobre, aperçu à l'NH. On est live, on va prendre vos messages, vos appels dans Zone Molson. Un show plus normal que les 2 derniers qu'on a fait. Donc, on se voit lundi. Puis n'hésitez pas à écouter P.K Subban, guys.
Salut.
Salut.
La Poche Bleue, une présentation des concessionnaires Ford du Québec.